This podcast is made possible by listeners who can contribute now at thestory.org, and in collaboration by Burt's Bees, Red Hat, and the Redwoods Group Foundation, who believe by working together we can help strengthen communities for a better world.
The new film, Undocumented Executive, is a comedy filmed in Atlanta. It's a fun story, kind of a classic Prince and the Pauper. The main character, Hockey, arrives from Mexico without papers. His sister sends him to a job as a painter at an office building. But when Hockey shows up wearing a suit, he's mistaken for one of the candidates for the position of chief financial officer. That same day he gets his interview, and when the CEO and his assistant tell Hockey they went to Harvard and they want to know where he was educated, they ask if it's Yale, and he thinks they're asking about jail.
Well, for all we know, you could have gone to Yale.
Yes, I did. I did go to jail.
Yale?
But it wasn't my fault. It was the kids.
I'm just messing with you. Yale's a fine school.
Fine school, yes.
Fine school.
I did learn a lot.
I'm sure you did. Did they teach you ethics at Yale?
Don't think so. I was just watching my back.
When Hockey gets the job, it turns out that the other executives are looking for someone to help cover their fraudulent dealings, and that's when Hockey's true character comes through. But there's another twist. The actor who plays Hockey is himself undocumented. For Tony Guerrero, just getting the role in the feature film was a career highlight, but it's one that likely won't last. He's getting deported. Not the character in the film, the actor himself. I'm Dick Gordon. This is The Story. Tony Guerrero didn't tell anyone on the film set that he was himself in the U.S. without papers. The state of Georgia had just passed a series of harsh laws designed to crack down on immigrants, and Tony didn't want trouble. He says it wasn't always easy, though, keeping the secret from his director.
One time he was telling about how difficult it is for somebody to cross the border on the desert and stuff. And in my mind I was saying, you don't have an idea. You have no idea the amount of fear and pressure and everything. And then I tell him a little bit of the story of a friend. You know, I have a friend. That's my way to kind of bend a little bit and tell him the story. No, and basically that was kind of towards the end of the movie. I was telling him, you know what, a friend told me this was happening, and he was looking at me very interested. He didn't know a lot of stuff by crossing them. Most of the people doesn't know how crossing the border, what it is exactly.
Sure.
It's very difficult.
And so you're playing the part of the undocumented executive, the lead in the film, and you're also undocumented. And what's going on in your own mind at the time? You're thinking, this is just crazy.
You know what? What was in my mind at that time is I wanted to tell everybody through this film that immigrants who come to this country, they have a nice story to share, and nobody listens to that story. They always see the bad part. Oh, here comes another illegal immigrant from the border. Oh, he's stealing our jobs. It's very rare to see a Latino in the lead in any film. If it's not Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, to me was, I want to show that this is a great story.
So let's go back and talk a little bit about your coming to the U.S. My understanding is that at one point early on, you got a job at a Spanish-language radio station, but you weren't acting. What were you doing?
My story goes back to 1997, where I came to America for the very first time with a visa. I came here legally the first time, and I overstayed. So by overstaying, you became, illegal or undocumented. And then I started working on a radio station, selling, because that was my background. I was selling airtime. Most of the clients here in Atlanta, they had new businesses and they wanted to attract new customers. But when I submitted the orders, the production orders to the production department, there was always this guy who comes say, Supermercado Jalisco, fruits, meats, canned goods, come and find us, 404-888, and then they said the number. But all the commercials sounded like that. And then I said, you know what? I think we should do something different. I think we should have a mom and a dad saying, a little interaction in between each other and say, yeah, let's go find this place because I think it's good. And so I start putting together voices and creating little scenarios to create a little commercial.
Putting a little theater behind the commercial.
Putting a little theater.
Yeah.
Correct. And it worked. Everybody was happy, and then I was starting putting jingles together, and then I brought kids to the studio, and then they were saying cute voices, and I had to do voices as well. So I was creating this little acting in behalf of the customers, which they love the commercials.
Were you doing voices on your own as well?
Yes, I do about 8 voices. For example, if I have an old guy, I can always put my voice like this, and I can do this. If I have a kid, I can go, "Hola, ¿cómo está?" So I can put the pitch of my voice up and down if I want to. I can do different characters. I guess acting is in me, I guess.
Well, yeah, and you had done some acting in Mexico before you came to the U.S., so was this something that you wanted to return to?
Honestly, I never expected to start acting again. I always know that I like that and music. I like music a lot. But I never, to me it was important to work, and that was just a dream. That was just something that, you do later on. It's in the back of your mind, But that was not my original idea. My main idea was to work and make money and bring my family here.
But you did it at one point. I mean, you started acting, even opening your own acting school.
Correct. It was a point where we crossed from radio to TV, and people were asking me if I knew other people who can play the role. And I said, well, I think I know somebody. We didn't have Facebook or anything, so I had to literally call friends and have them come to the stage or to the commercial facility, and then I start acting first so they can see me how to do it, and then they start doing it. And then I start thinking, you know what, why don't I just start like a school or an agency? And it worked.
And Tony, what was going on in your personal life at the time? Were you didn't have a wife or children that came with you from Mexico? What was going on?
Well, my previous marriage, I brought them 3 months after I came here. They also came with visa. They both came. My ex-wife and my son, they came with visa, but they overstayed. My ex-wife was home with my son. And my son at the time was in December 1998. He was about 5 years old. So they were here with me. We were living in a little tiny apartment because we didn't have a social or a driver's license. So we live in a very, very small place.
And you got in some trouble with the law at that point. What happened?
Yes, I did get in trouble. In Mexico, it's different than America, of course. If somebody come to you, you fight with that person. You just fight. There's no strict rules and laws like this. My English at that time was very, very poor, and I have a confrontation with my neighbor and my ex-wife. And we have a fight. Somebody called the police. The police came. They arrested me, and they took me to jail. And the police of Gwinnett County, it's still very, very racist, and it's well known all around Georgia. It's very racist. And then the things they put on the paper, they accuse me of domestic violence, and they put me like 5 charges. And it was tough for me, but I didn't see anything wrong. See, the thing is that I when I came back to my house, I found my wife with my neighbor. I walked into them. That was the problem. And I was young. I left myself emotionally go. I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing, and I went a little bit crazy, but nothing major. When 15 years later we find out that there's such a thing called crime of moral turpitude. They did not let me fix my immigration problems because of that moral turpitude. So
this stayed on your record then all those years, right?
It stayed. I didn't know. I thought that by me going to this therapy every month, and by paying $1,200, and by, they say send you to a school. It's like a management of emotions. Like when you get angry, what you do. You never had to fight. Always turn your back around and be a good person. I learned my lesson. I never get in trouble anymore. But that was 13 years ago, just kind of like in the movie. Unfortunately, it was not enough for the judge.
Can we go back to the movie for just a minute here? Because we haven't really spoken much about what the parallels are between your life and the character that you play in the film. But the character in the film thinks he's going to get a job as a painter in an office, ends up being hired as like the chief accountant, and then has to kind of, well, I don't know, you tell me, is he like seeing if he can fake it at that point?
He always wanted to be a businessman. He didn't know what kind of position, he just wanted to be a businessman. Unfortunately, the guys on the company, they have another plans for Hockey, and utilize his naiveness to accomplish that.
They think they're going to set him up to kind of take the fall for stealing some money from the company, right? Or cooking the books,
correct.
As they, yeah.
Correct. Cook the books, yes.
And so, without giving away too many details here, how does it end? Does it have a happy ending?
Well, in the movie, sometimes there's happy endings. And yes, the movie has a happy ending. Not in my case. Because it means the beginning and the end of something. The breakthrough, the dream come true, and then the goodbye.
It turns out that Tony Guerrero's breakthrough role, playing the lead in a film with some of Atlanta's most talented actors, may also be his last role in the U.S. When he went through the proper steps to get his immigration papers, that crime of moral turpitude he was describing caught up with him, and he's now counting down the days till he's deported back to Mexico. I'll talk more with Tony about why that's happening in just a moment. Coming up later this hour, the former Marine Rob Bates is back in Afghanistan. It's his third tour, but the first time he's gone to war as a full-time artist. I'm Dick Gordon from APM, American Public Media. This is The Story. I'm Dick Gordon. This is The Story. In the movie Undocumented Executive, Tony Guerrero's character, Hockey, is a kind of mystery. He's a bit of a clown. He stumbles his way through trouble. But we're never quite sure how smart he is. At one point in the film, a colleague is driving him through Atlanta. Hockey sees a tamale stand, a place where the woman earlier took pity on him and gave him some food. He asks to borrow some money from his colleague. She hands him a wad of bills. Hockey jumps out of the car and returns with 2 tamales.
Thank you so much. You need to try one of these. It's homemade tamale. Go.
Hockey, did you just give that woman all of your money?
Well, kind of, but this is a great tamale. You need to try it.
That was $300. Do you know how much that is?
I know, but she's a hard-working lady, and she's really, really nice. And I just want to give her something in return. Come on. This is really good tamale.
You are one interesting character.
The film has received even more attention in the Atlanta area since it came out that the actor playing Hockey, Tony Guerrero, is himself just weeks away from his own deportation to Mexico.
I am not sad because I believe in God, first of all. And thanks to that film, I was able to leave a mark in the industry. And yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of people, they're going to be and felt insulted, and they're going to feel that I totally deserve this, and they're going to crucify me by saying, if you broke the law, you don't have to put out an act anymore. It doesn't matter how good of an actor or you deserve to be where, in Mexico. Because that's what happened when this article came on the newspaper. Everybody was judging me. But to accomplish something almost impossible is the best feeling that you can have. And that's something that I will keep for the rest of my life.
Tony, when you got this role in the film and you were a success at it, was that an opportunity for you to go back to the courts and plead your case on any level to stay in the U.S.?
We went back to, because once my I-130 was approved, and for those who doesn't know what the I-130 is, it's the application, the form where my wife requested me, and it's a family. That means the United States citizen has a relative and is approved by them. So once the I-130 is approved, you go and file your case.
And this is a new family you have right now?
Yes.
You're remarried. Your wife is an American citizen?
Correct.
Okay.
She's actually Cuban-American.
So did she come to the U.S. from Cuba?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yes, she's a Cuban refugee.
But also a U.S. citizen now, right?
Correct, because she once you are here for 5 years and you have a good record, you can become American citizen. So she naturalized as a citizen.
Okay, so the two of you go to the courts or to a judge and say, "Yeah, I've got my I-130. Can I stay?"
And they say, "No, because you have a crime of moral turpitude, and therefore you can't."
Back to that battery charge from 13 years ago.
Correct.
Is there any appeal on that? Do you get a chance to tell your story at all, or is it just like bang, the judge's hammer comes down, that's it?
That's correct. It's pretty much cookie cutter. The judge was very strict, and she says, if you appeal, I am going to take away your voluntary departure right, and I can deport you right away. In other words, I negotiated my stay here because it was Christmas time coming, and I said, if you appeal, it's going to take probably another year, and I will be here and appealing and spending money on attorneys and everything. But if you decided to leave voluntarily the country within 120 days, I will, waive. I mean, you will lose the right of appealing. So that's where I am right now.
So that's why you're still in the U.S. now, because you don't have to leave until when?
Until January 24th.
And then you have to go?
I have to go.
Back to Mexico?
Yes.
And can you make any kind of request for a return from there?
Well, I can, but the probability for them to forgive me and approve this waiver, which is a waiver, what they call it, it's very difficult because I overstayed my visa. I have a 10-year bar.
You mean
for being here?
You leave in January and you can't come back to the U.S. for 10 years?
For 10 years. And this is the problem that is being for many families that are here.
Yeah.
And hopefully the president change this soon. Hopefully soon enough.
And so what happens with you and your family? You have children now?
Yes, we have Jorge, which is 19. We have Jan, which is 12, and we have Hector, which is 5 years old. This is the problem. This is where the whole thing gets very complicated. It's going to be very difficult for them to leave this country if they have everything here and they have good educations. And Mexico, it's just terrible. It's not the Mexico I left. Mexico is full of violence and full of narco traffic and corruption and poverty.
So just to be clear here, your dilemma is that even if you could take your family with you, the children all have American citizenship rights. It'd be like it would not be a good thing for them, even if you did take them to Mexico, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right.
So what are you thinking about what's ahead? Do you have a plan?
I have plan A, B, C, and D.
Okay. Go on.
And I had to sleep because I cannot get sleep at night. The first thing I want to accomplish, and this is something very good, once people knew about my situation, all the Hispanic community gather and start raising signatures. And all the actors also in Atlanta, it was such a tremendous support from them. I mean, people that I always look up to them.
Yeah.
They comment in Facebook, they sign the petition, they support me, they rally, and I mean, guys that you see in movies like What to Expect Where You're Not Expecting, the new movie coming out in Flight with Denzel Washington. Not main lead roles, but, small roles.
Yeah.
That are,
but serious actors are signing this, which must be great for your heart or your soul, but does it mean anything for your status as someone who's undocumented?
There's an organization called GLAR, and they are putting together these signatures in order to present this to the immigration authorities. According to them, the immigration authorities, they read these petitions. And we want to show them that I'm a good person, and I'm putting something good for the community. So my plan A is to get deferral action, which is they won't deport me, but they also won't give me any legal status. They will just give me like a freeze. They will give me work permit, which I have right now. They will give me a driver's license, which I have right now, but they won't deport me. They will just keep me here freeze without bothering me until something happens. Plan B is to me go back to Mexico and start a new life by myself over there and try to make a living there and bring my wife in the future, and if she likes it and if she thinks it's safe for the kids to come over, then bring them home with me. That will be plan B.
It's funny, you talked about the way that people respond to the newspaper story of your circumstance. The same thing happens here at the radio station. When I have a conversation with someone who is caught sort of between two countries, undocumented like this, I get a letter from someone who just says, he's illegal, we don't have jobs here, send him away, end of story. I don't want to hear anything else.
Correct.
Do you get that right to your face?
No. Never. Because when people know me, even people that I only work once or twice, the whole perspective changes. And actually, I see this happening with a lot of immigrants. They like them when they cut their yards. They like them when they clean. They like them when they do this. But they don't want to see them anymore. And I understand that there's a lot of bad people out there. But you cannot criticize everybody just for in general. There's a system that is being broken. There's a system that needs to be fixed. That's the problem. Once everybody knew about this situation, I have offers to work in Canada and Panama, even Europe. And I'm like, wow. But I feel American. I love this country very much. And if I had to go, then maybe another country will accept me. And I will do the same thing. I will try to be the best at what I do.
So it may be that the film ends up being a passport of sorts for you somewhere else, if not back to Mexico, right?
Well, I never intended to use the film as a way to, tell my story. I guess it happens the other way around.
Yeah, well, but we're talking now, and other people are noticing you as well, right?
Correct. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be people out there that thinks differently, and by thinking differently, we can get ahead in this country.
Tony Guerrero stars in the film Undocumented Executive. He says he's getting good legal advice and still has hope that he'll find a way to stay in the U.S. You can learn more about the film and about Tony with links on our website at thestory.org.